if you're a business, should you lease or buy the property you're operating in? I think like we immediately go to this idea, if we're leasing, we're just throwing away money. So owning always makes the most sense. But I think there's pros and cons to both. And I think I don't think there's a right answer. So I figured we'd talk about the good and the bad. So the pros of owning the building you work in, there's tax advantages. So the business can write off their lease payment as a normal business expense. But if you're the owner as well, you now can write off the depreciation plus any expenses. So it's like double dipping. 2, you can use your property as collateral to borrow money because it's an asset now. 3, you can use it for marketing purposes. Like when you own the building, you could do whatever you want to it. You can make it look however. You don't always get that flexibility with leasing. So I think marketability is another one. Fixed overhead. That I think is like a pretty strong argument. When you're leasing, you have no guarantee that you're going to pay the same amount once your lease is up. If you own the building, you know what your expenses are. So that's another good thing. And then last, appreciation. You're in a real estate over time is known to go up in value. So you won't always get appreciation, but there's a good shot in you making money through appreciation of the building. So those are all positives. I think some of the cons are you're tying up capital. And depending on what stage you're at with your business, if you're in like growth stage or startup stage, you kind of need to ask yourself what the best use of your capital is. Are you going to see a bigger return by investing in the building you operate in or by putting that money towards new products? So I think looking at what stage and what the greatest use of your capital is pretty big. And then kind of going off that, how stable is your business? I think we all forget that most companies in the first 5 years go out of business. So you kind of want to see how comfortable or stable your business is. And if you can afford to invest in a long-term investment like commercial real estate is not a quick thing. So that's another thing to remember. This one I think is obvious, but I feel like we don't do it because we just expect owning to be better. But create a side-by-side comparison of costs by owning and leasing. You don't always save money by owning. So I think just building those things out so that you could know, does owning actually make sense? And then if it does make sense, this is kind of a big one to ask yourself. Okay, financially on paper it makes sense, but do I want to be an owner? Do I want to have the responsibility and the added time by owning my property? A lot of times you'll sublease. So now you're a landlord dealing with tenants. Maintenance is your responsibility. So you as the business owner or the leader, your time is valuable, and a lot of times that energy needs to go towards building your business. So I think just asking yourself, what's the best use of my time, and will I see a bigger return on my time focusing 100% on my business, or can I take on that responsibility? So with all that said, there's no right or wrong. I think it's what's right for this company or my company might not be right for yours, but make sure you go through the process of actually seeing what the best decision is instead of just assuming owning is better.